Hello and welcome to the Twin Sleep Talk podcast. I'm your host, Laura Van Leuven, a twin mom, registered nurse, and sleep consultant specializing in twins. This is a place where we talk about sleep, twin parenting, and where we gain wisdom and insight from other twin parents who have been there. Today, I am so excited to welcome my friend and fellow twin mom, Emily Collings. Emily and I have known each other for several years. Our twins are around the same age. They'll both be
Yeah, just
turning,
6 months apart.
yeah. So they'll both be turning 10 this year, or all four of them are going to be turning 10 this year.
Mhm.
And she also has a singleton son who's the same age as one of my singletons. And so when we get together, it's just a lot of kids and a lot of noise, but a lot of fun. So I am just going to let Emily go ahead and introduce herself and let you all know where she's at and what she does with her time during the days.
Yeah, hi, Laura. Thanks for having me. My name is Emily, and I have the honor of being a children's pastor during the day. And I have had, like you said, twins since 2016, and my singleton is 5. So my twins are girls, eternal girls, and my singleton is a boy. So 3 kids, all crazy, all a lot of fun. I also reside in the Twin Cities. I grew up here, was so excited to move away from here, and I ended up back
Yeah.
because if you're lucky enough to have great parents, as a parent yourself, you know that that grandparent connection is really, really helpful and valuable. So we moved back here to be closer to family and can't see us leaving anytime soon. We're very, very settled now.
And you're very connected. I just feel like, you got you and your husband, you have so many
Mhm.
connections in the Twin Cities. And I know both of you mean a lot to a lot of people here.
Mhm.
So I'm glad you're back.
Yeah, me too. God used it. That's for sure.
Yes, totally. So tell me a little bit about where you were living. You find out you're having twins and what that experience was like for you.
Yeah, insane. So my husband and I we met in college in Chicago. We lived in Chicago when we were first married, and we overall really loved our life. There were some kind of painful things going on. We were not super happy with our church community, but we wanted to stick it out. We wanted to see them flourish.
Mhm.
My husband was in grad school for special education, and I was working on the South Side in ministry when we found out that we were pregnant. And that pregnancy was not planned. So that was wild. But even in Chicago, like our family was so supportive, and we had a 4th floor walk up, 1 bedroom apartment, and a big dog. And we were like, yeah, we can make this work. Strategizing how to hang curtains and how to kind of make our 1 bedroom a 2 bedroom and all these things until our 12-week appointment. And I'm getting a ultrasound. And my husband is sitting next to me. I'm very glad looking back that he was able to make it to this appointment.
Yeah.
And the tech says, "Were you on any fertility medication?" And I'm pretty young, and like I said, this was an unplanned pregnancy, so I just said no. I didn't think anything of it. I should have. I did not think anything of it. We're just sitting there quietly as she's, capturing what she needs to capture in the picture. And then she turns the monitor towards us and says, "So it looks like you're having twins."
Oh my God.
And I shot up onto my elbows, and my husband like lurched towards the screen trying to get a better view. And my jaw is just on the floor. And this is so embarrassing. But the first thing I said was, "Kevin," my husband's name is Kevin. "Kevin, you need a better job." Because we're like poor young married people, making minimum wage and just trying to live in a busy city.
Oh my gosh.
It
I
was
love that.
wild, and we maybe still have not really recovered from that moment. No, but,
I did not know that. That's hilarious.
yeah, it was hysterical. I apologize. I felt so bad, but it was, going from 0 to 2 is a lot.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Oh, so we were so shocked that we called our parents from the hospital lobby. Like, we were
Oh my
just
gosh.
stunned.
Yeah.
and mostly really joyful. Like, we were really excited,
Did they know you were
and
pregnant already
they did
or
already know we
okay,
were
okay,
pregnant. Yeah.
okay.
And my mother-in-law thought we were joking for weeks until we
Really?
brought her the, like, ultrasound pictures in person. She thought we were pranking her.
That's funny.
And the crazy part of this is that, like, they say fraternal twins is genetic.
Mhm.
I cannot Laura, I would love to know this about you. I cannot find fraternal twins in my family tree anywhere except for my dad's mom's sister. So my great
Okay.
aunt
Okay. Yeah.
also had granddaughters who are twins.
And they're
So
fraternal?
yeah. But that's on my dad's side too, so I don't really know how that works. So maybe that counts. But do you have twins in your family?
I actually do. My grandmother had fraternal twins. My dad's brother and
Oh,
sister are twins.
okay.
Yeah, so and then there are a couple other sets in that family,
Mm,
so perhaps it is a genetic thing.
mhm.
I don't think it always has to be, though. I think it can be.
Okay.
There
Yeah.
are, like, tribes, like, there's this I think it's the Yoruba tribe in Nigeria, and, like, they have a really high instance of like, the highest in the world instance of twins, and they think that's, like, a genetic trait that people carries.
Fascinating. Oh, that's so cool. Wow. Yeah. So then we get home and we're picturing carrying two car seats up four flights of stairs. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, it
Yes.
just dawned on us that our life in Chicago was not sustainable for twins.
Hmm. Mhm.
Um, Especially because we were still in this transitional season as a young family. My husband's in grad school, and
Mhm.
we didn't and couldn't really delay that.
Mhm.
And so we made the decision to quit our jobs and to transfer his credits and have the babies in Minnesota. My parents had space in their basement,
Mhm.
like a finished basement. They didn't throw us in a dungy basement. And
Yeah.
they were thrilled. I hadn't
Yeah.
lived at home for 8 years or near home for eight
Mm.
years. So they were very excited. And we moved to Minnesota when I was 32 weeks with
Wow.
twins. Yeah.
Gosh.
And then my husband is scrambling for part-time work while he finishes his degree. And yeah, it was a wild time. Looking
Wow.
back, I realized that I was really not prepared to have a baby. At least what I mean by that is I didn't take any birth classes. I really only knew my mom's story of having birth. And because I was transferring care so late, I didn't really have time to like do a ton of research.
Hmm.
And I didn't have established care in Minnesota yet. So all that to say, I think you and we've talked about kind of focusing on the NICU
Yeah.
in this conversation because we ended up having one of my twins in the NICU. But I just look back and I'm like, wow, I just really have a lot of compassion on myself because
Hmm.
I will gladly take this platform if you have any expecting twin parents listening and say, don't just look at, the delivery wing, look at the NICU, figure out what their policies
Hmm.
are if there's one twin in and one twin out, figure out if you can stay on campus or not. There are these questions that I have, and I would recommend people asking, but that I had no idea. And I ended up carrying my twins to term. We
Okay.
induced at 38,
Wow.
which is the gold standard, I guess. You
Yeah.
don't usually let twins go to 40 if you can help it. So,
Right.
I say to the nurses if I know things.
I mean, that's no, it's good. It's good because I think a lot of people think they look at, like, either a baby or twin babies, and they're like, "You made it full term, so your babies were fine,
Mhm.
your delivery was fine," and they just kind of assume that since they aren't preterm, which, most twins actually are preterm,
Mhm.
that, well, everything must have been fine then, and that was
Yeah.
not your experience.
No, and I remember reading some books and articles and especially with your first, everything just felt so theoretical, yeah, or
Totally.
hypothetical.
Yes.
And then I got to 36 weeks and I'm like, oh, I don't even have to worry about this NICU stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, so then I had I was induced and
And you've
about
never
20.
given birth before, so that's
No.
already kind of
Yeah.
ooh,
Right. Yeah.
yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I was induced and then I ended up with a C-section just because I was not progressing.
Mm,
And baby A was, I'm gonna use my hands, was
go
hitting
for
my
it.
cervix
Okay.
with her head, poor thing. And
Yeah,
so they just felt like she was kind of taking the brunt of all these contractions and they
yeah,
weren't progressing enough. So I ended up with a C-section and they were born and they were beautiful and baby A was 5'14" and baby B was 6 pounds, which are so
amazing.
great. Yeah. All of that was amazing. I still remember, seeing them for the first time being lifted over that
The curtain.
sheet, that curtain. Yeah. And all
Yeah,
of it felt just, as scary as a C-section is, and my body did not like the C-section at
yeah,
all. But as scary as all of that is, I mean, it felt so joyful. It felt so joyful.
yeah.
And then we, went back to recovery and I was recovering just fine with them for about 24 hours. And then baby A, her name's Eleanor. She just started to desat or to
Mhm,
not breathe while she was eating. So I was trying to breastfeed them, learning about
mhm.
latching and all of that. And the nurse, I was feeding them, and the nurse just kind of was poking around and happened to look down and then noticed that maybe she wasn't breathing. And so she just flicked the bottom of her foot really quick. And Eleanor did that like kind of gasped air in.
Mm,
And so then the nurse, obviously stayed right by my head and was like, okay, why don't you try that again? And she did it again. And so then they obviously like immediately called in the NICU team. And this is 24 hours from a C-section. So I can't really stand yet. I don't think they've even had me
wow,
try to stand yet, potentially. So it was just very crazy. But my baby B, Quinlan, she was totally fine. And so they kept Quinlan with me and they brought Eleanor down to the NICU and Kevin went with her.
okay.
But because Quinlan and I weren't discharged, we were on 2 different floors, for a while. So, yeah, so what they did with me is they put me in a wheelchair. They would take Quinlan
Mhm,
to the nursery, they would put me in a wheelchair, and or I would, start walking, and I would wheel down to the NICU level and sit with her and try to breastfeed her and,
mhm.
all of that. But I was getting so I mean, those hormones are crazy,
Oh, yeah,
right? The adrenaline is crazy.
oh, yeah.
I thought I was doing great. I ended up needing 3 blood transfusions because my hemoglobin was so low.
My gosh, I don't think I knew that either.
Yeah, isn't that I
Oh,
still don't know
wow.
how I feel about it. I mean, I feel grateful,
Yeah,
but it's a little creepy, I guess. So, someone else's blood.
yeah.
But
But
yeah.
wow, okay, so you were like you weren't doing great, your baby wasn't doing
Mhm.
awesome, but one baby was okay, but
Right.
then that baby doesn't get the attention, maybe.
Yes. Or, I gave birth in August, but I say that Quinlan also didn't see the sun for her first few weeks of life because,
Man,
spoiler alert, I just didn't leave the NICU. And I didn't even know that parents left, which is so, and I don't say that with any judgment. I probably could have really benefited from being in a real bed. But I had so much intensity around not leaving Eleanor that I just didn't even entertain the idea of going home.
hmm,
But the hospital I was in did not have rooms for parents to stay in or near the NICU. It was just, curtains in between the NICU beds.
yeah,
And then that was like the entire NICU wing.
okay.
And so once I was discharged, Kevin and I just slept on the floor or on the couch, next to Eleanor's bed with Quinlan.
Mhm,
But the hospital also didn't do great, and this is why I'm just like, talk to your hospital about their
yeah,
policies. Obviously, there's big red flags if they see someone carrying a baby because the baby is supposed to be wheeled everywhere, right?
yeah,
But Quinlan and I were discharged, and if Kevin's going to the bathroom and I need to go get water, I'm gonna carry her with me because she's my baby.
yeah,
But the hospital staff reacted like they're trained to, like I was stealing the baby, my own baby, which again, with my mama bear adrenaline heightened, I was
Yeah.
not having it. So then they had to give me a bassinet so I could push Quinlan everywhere.
My
But my
goodness.
little heart, like how old was I when I had them? I was, 24. I was just, I wanted to hold my baby.
Yeah.
But I had to leave her in the bassinet, unless I was sitting right next to Eleanor. So it was
Yeah.
wild. It was
Wow.
wild.
It's
Yeah.
stuff like that you just don't even obviously, even they didn't quite think about that, like, what happens when, it's
Right.
multiples and one is a patient and one is not,
Right.
how to handle that.
Yeah. So and this whole time, they're not sure why Eleanor is desatting. So at first it was just when she was, which I don't think I'm using that term correctly, but
You are, yeah.
yeah, great. At first it was when she was eating, and then it started to be spontaneous. So she would just
Oh,
spontaneously start losing oxygen, stop breathing. And they, checked for things in her nose that are blocking her airway. They
mhm,
did spinal taps and they did MRIs. They did everything
mhm,
and they couldn't really figure it out. The interesting thing was like almost every time she would desat, if you flipped her foot, you could kind of revive her, like shock her back into breathing almost.
mhm,
So I never necessarily felt like she was going to die at any moment, but it
okay,
was like a huge mystery and obviously concerning that they didn't know why it was happening.
yeah,
And then there was this added layer of looking back now, I was probably a pretty frustrating patient, but the NICU nurses just really struggled with me and Kevin living there. It's just not set up for it. And so around the time they put up my driver's license photo so they knew I was a safe person. Once they started kind of figuring out how to work with Kevin and I, is around the time they also realized that they were kind of out of resources. They didn't know how to help Eleanor further, and so
mm,
they transferred us to a larger hospital. They transferred us to the U of M Masonic Children's Hospital
okay,
and their NICU. And, that was scary. That was a big unknown.
yeah,
They had to put her, even though she was term, they put her in one of those big chambers to
yep,
transfer her because she had never been outside the hospital before,
yeah, yep,
and so we get to the U, and let me tell you that NICU is incredible. And one of the biggest differences, and I won't necessarily name, you can ask Laura for my contact info if you live local and you want to know which NICU this was. I'll tell you privately. But the NICU we were in had no art. There were almost no windows. And so what was so striking about the U of M, which this feels like maybe a low bar, but there were just pictures on the walls of happy babies everywhere. And it just gave you so much hope. Like, my baby's gonna be okay. They're gonna look like these babies on the wall. And the colors were joyful. It was really bright.
hmm,
It was like a soothing environment. And the best part is that I didn't need a Ronald McDonald room or anything. They actually had a few rooms just one floor up that I could stay at that felt
yeah,
more like a hotel room.
that's so important.
It was so important. And I mean, think about me, right? Like, I'm just a
Yeah,
few days out from a C-section. I'm still getting the
yeah,
shakes. Do you remember the shakes?
yes,
I'm still doing all of that while
yeah,
trying to care for twins.
oh my
So
gosh,
having my own bathroom, they're like, when we were at that other NICU, I
yeah,
had to leave the NICU to go to the
yeah.
bathroom. It was wild.
That's
So
terrible, because that
I
is a
know,
really sensitive time to be using the bathroom. Oh
I
my
know.
gosh.
I know. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was pretty insane. And my
Yeah.
parents were incredible. They were bringing us food. They
Oh,
assembled the
yeah.
stroller so that Quinlan was easier to kind of pop in and out of things. And,
Yeah.
everyone was so wonderful.
That's amazing. How long was Eleanor in the NICU, like, all together or
So altogether it was let me think here, 2 weeks.
oh, wow, okay.
And then we got home, and a few days after we got home, she aspirated.
Okay.
And it just scared me so bad that I brought her
Yeah.
back to the emergency room. And then because of her history, they readmitted us.
Oh, man.
But that was more of just like a body function fluke. It wasn't anything to do with her breathing, which was good.
Okay.
So 2 weeks in the NICU and then just like 2 days in the PICU. And
Okay.
then we were home free. Praise the Lord. So
Okay. Yeah, that's
yeah.
amazing after all that.
Yeah, and those 2 weeks, I mean, the other incredible thing about being transferred to the U of M is you realize that I mean, I just unfortunately ended up feeling so fortunate, right? There are
Mhm.
babies in there who are obviously much sicker than mine, because even though she wasn't breathing correctly, she was growing just fine,
Mhm.
and she was getting the
Yeah.
liquids she needed through the
Mhm.
IVs and all of that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
she was obviously bigger than a lot of the babies there, and she was obviously healthier than a lot of the
Yeah.
babies there. And
Yeah.
so getting to know other parents in the NICU, I
Mhm.
just was overwhelmed with gratitude and so humbled. So that was also just an amazing experience. I actually stay in touch with one of the families that we met
Oh.
for just those 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And they were in there for the long haul, like a lot of twin parents are. They were there
Yeah.
for, 3 months with their preemies.
Wow. Yeah,
So
I've heard of
yeah.
that happening that like parents who stay in the NICU together just do stay in touch for years to
Yeah.
come afterwards, which is amazing to me.
Mhm. Well, yeah, it's such an intense season and
Mhm.
the NICU, we were in a separate room, but obviously the NICU, it's not private in the sense of like, the doctors around. You overhear things and
Yeah.
you are bumping into people all the time.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
yeah, so Kevin and I were in this kind of weird space because there were these parent groups for NICU families, and we
Mhm.
didn't really belong because I think deep down we knew that we were going to be okay. Like
Mhm.
we had this feeling we weren't going to be there forever just because she was growing like she should.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then shortly after getting there, they ran a bunch more tests and they took some more detailed family history. And the frustrating part is that none of that amounted to anything. What their best guess is that Eleanor, for some reason, her lungs just weren't as well developed as most 38 weekers. And her body couldn't figure out that suck, swallow, breathe thing that babies need
Yes.
to learn to do.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why it started when she was eating. And then, just her body systems and her lungs needed to mature more.
Mhm.
And so we were sent home, and she had to wear a breathing monitor 24/7, and it never went off. Like we
That's
never
amazing.
by the time we were home 2 weeks later, her body was figuring it out.
Yeah.
So, so grateful. So then, we had that one hiccup with the PICU, but other than that,
She's been a healthy kid.
well, yeah, and
Yeah.
they both were, and the rest of babyhood was pretty unremarkable in that way.
Yeah.
Except, here we are as twin parents trying to
Yeah.
sleep and, you know, survive, so
Yeah.
now we just had normal twin parent problems to deal
Yeah.
with.
What was that
Yeah.
like bringing her home after all of that? So, because did you have were you home at all with Quinlan
I
before
went
you brought
home.
her?
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
great question. Before we were transferred to the U, I just wanted like a real shower and a real meal. Because again, the only bathroom for NICU
Mhm.
parents was a one stall toilet shower combo.
Yeah.
Again, it was not great. And so I did go home once. I felt so guilty the entire time I was there. But I brought Quinlan with me, which was fun. That one
Mhm.
time I went home and I showered and I took a nap, I think. And my dog met Quinlan and it was
Oh,
love at first sight for my dog, which is so cute.
yeah.
And then I went back with Quinlan, and then, shortly after we went to the U. But coming home, oh, you know what? That's interesting. I don't have a major memory of it. I remember learning quickly that the twins could not sleep in the same room as me because I was
Hmm.
so hyper alert to every little noise they made.
Yeah.
So we had set up pack and plays for them in our
Mhm.
room, and we quickly realized that wasn't going to work. So we moved them into another empty room in my parents' house
Mhm.
so that I could actually fall into a deeper sleep and not be kind of on high alert.
Yeah.
Um, and my husband, me, and my mom, we split for a few weeks. We split the night into
Yeah.
threes, and
Yeah.
we each took 2 shifts. So
Amazing.
we each took one shift, I should say. So we got
Okay.
kind of a consecutive like 6 hours of sleep, each of us, which was incredible at the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was pumping and trying to breastfeed a little bit. But I was able to pump and breastfeed for the first 3 months, which was
That's
awesome.
incredible. Yeah. That's a
Yeah,
huge
yeah.
gift to your babies.
It
Yeah.
really is. Yeah. Especially
Mhm.
after a C-section, because my milk took a while to come in. Um,
Yeah.
but I just kept at the pumping and it eventually came in and I was able to save up a little bit too. So,
Yeah.
they probably had breast milk in their diet up until about 6 months, which was great.
Yeah. Which is yeah, that is really important
Mhm.
for the first few months for sure.
Yeah.
So, good for you. It's a
Yeah,
lot.
thanks.
It's a
It's a
lot.
lot. Yeah, it was a huge learning curve, and I'm so incredibly grateful for my parents.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I love talking I'm a children's pastor, so I love talking to parents. I love talking about birth and birth stories. I find it
Mhm.
fascinating.
Mhm.
Ended up having a C-section for kind of similar reasons with my singleton,
Okay.
and I thought that that was going to be really traumatic, and I thought that what I needed to kind of heal from my twins experience was a VBAC, but I think I learned that actually what I need is to do it again
Mm.
and have more compassion on little me, young mom
Yeah.
me, and to just realize that there was so much outside my control? And then with my son, Gabe, we were able to come home right away.
Amazing.
And
Yeah.
so also just recognizing that, wow, it just sets you up differently. You don't get that nice visit in your home from the nurse 3 days after when you're in the NICU.
Oh,
And
sure.
all of those things that you don't think about. Like if you're not home, they don't really
Yeah.
come find you?
No.
And
No.
so I didn't have any doctor's appointments until my 6 week doctor's appointment. And I
Okay.
think best practice is that you get one or two before then, I think. So
Yeah, I
anyway,
think now they do like to see a little earlier, but yeah.
yeah. So yeah, so I think I have a lot of compassion, but I mean I did come out of the NICU with a lot of gratitude for life because it's just not
Yeah.
guaranteed, but
Right.
also with a lot of trauma. And that's kind of embarrassing to admit sometimes, but if a definition of trauma is kind of being having your agency taken away or being overwhelmed to the point that your own resources don't allow you to fix the problem, then of course you're going to be traumatized by something like that,
Yeah.
you know? So I have these very specific memories of moments that were the most painful. And I've been able to work through a lot of those in
Yeah.
therapy with different, therapy approaches. And I've had a lot of freedom from it, which I'm very grateful for,
Yeah.
but it's not been smooth sailing necessarily. I've had some postpartum depression and I've had some, yeah, I just had to work through some things early on afterwards. So,
What would you say, and you've kind of like alluded to this a little bit, but like for a mom who maybe is facing a NICU stay, whether they know there's, an issue and they
mhm,
have been told to expect that, or maybe they're in the midst of it, or
mhm,
maybe she's just coming out of it and kind of feeling maybe like there is something wrong.
mhm,
What would be some advice you would give her or warning signs you would say are good
mhm.
indicators that she should reach out for some professional support?
Yeah. Yeah, I should have reached out for professional support a lot earlier.
Mhm.
I was at a women's retreat with our church, and these two older, wiser moms asked me the simplest, sweetest question. They said, "What has been the best and most surprising part of parenting so far?"
It's a good
And
question.
I know. And I just started crying and I said, I can't think of anything. Isn't that sad? And they said, you should probably go to therapy. I mean, they said it in such a compassionate,
Yeah, yeah.
hand on shoulder. And they were the first time, this is almost 10 years ago now, right? But like, it was the first time I had heard of like medical trauma kind of being its own thing
Mhm.
almost.
Yeah.
And so one of them has a son who had almost died multiple times from severe nut allergies.
Yeah.
And so she was like, medical trauma is a real thing.
Mhm.
You've been through a lot and there's no shame in getting help?
Mhm.
So I'm trying to remember kind of everything else that was going on around that moment, but I was dealing with some rage. I was
Mhm.
angry. I wanted to hide from my twins sometimes.
Yeah.
And things like that, that I now look back on. I'm like, oh, that, those are warning signs
Hmm.
for sure. So if you're already a year or 2 or 3 years out from your twins or from your traumatic birth experience and you are experiencing anything like that, then I would say absolutely no shame, go get some help.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I would also say that one thing that I did some research about medical trauma and about NICU trauma kind of
Mhm.
around the time I started looking for a therapist. I read this article that said if you can journal just 5 minutes a day when your child is in the NICU, that greatly lessens your trauma.
Really?
Yeah, just because you're allowing yourself to process just a little and to kind of complete that stress cycle
Mhm.
instead of just staying in this adrenaline, hyperactive, like, I need to be on, I need to be aware, I need to be alert, I need to be informed,
Sure.
I need to be communicating with my medical team.
Mhm.
There's just so much to do
Yeah.
and, yeah, so I saw this really fascinating study that was like moms who journaled 5 to 10 minutes a day while their child was in the NICU had greatly less emotional distress than parents
Wow.
who didn't. Yeah.
That is so insightful. And I wonder too if just at all any new mom who's struggling,
Yeah,
whether it's NICU or not, whether journaling a little bit. I know I journaled with my oldest, who was a singleton. I did not make the time to do that with my twins just
I
because I
know.
felt so overwhelmed. And I do wonder, what if that would have made a little bit
Mm,
of a difference just with my
mhm,
own experience,
mhm.
with overwhelm. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 and then, when I first got pregnant
Mhm.
and realized it was twins and started sharing that, and then we were really excited, but we obviously had to uproot our life,
Yeah.
and I didn't know how to be a mom to one and, definitely not to two. My sister, this was so interesting. She so kindly sent me an article that said twin moms experience all 5 stages of grief when they find out they're having twins. Now,
Wow.
I will say, obviously, there are people who have been hoping for children for a long time and take medication, and maybe they're more prepared that could mean they will have twins. But I will say if you are not expecting it at all,
Mhm.
or maybe
Mhm.
even if you are, it's okay to go through the 5 stages of grief because there are things you can do with a singleton as a mom that you cannot do with twins. And
Yes.
that's just a reality. And
Yep.
it's okay to grieve
Mhm.
what your life could have looked like.
Mhm. Mhm.
And if you have are currently pregnant with twins or in those early baby days, Laura, I'd be interested if you agree with this. But I have found that you get your time back once they turn 2, right? I almost feel like my twins stopped needing me because they had each other at 2.
My gosh. I literally remember the moment that I realized this is what everyone's talking about.
Yes.
My twins were 2.5 and I literally took a little video because I was like, this is amazing. They were sitting on the floor and they had this like car ramp and they were both had their cars and they were actually talking to each other and
Yes.
like had a game going, like an imagination, like their cars were talking, they were talking to each other
Yes.
through their cars. And I was like, I can walk away. I can go like wash the dishes in the next room and they're playing. They're just playing. Because my daughter never did that.
Right.
She would
That
just
was gonna
be,
be you next to the cars with
yes.
her. Yes.
She would just hang on my leg, just crying. Nobody's here to play with me. It was so like I felt so torn because I'm like, well, I want
Right.
to play with her. I want her to have a friend, and it's me. But also, like, I need to make dinner.
Yes.
And
And I
like
don't wanna just put
now,
you on screens all the time, you know?
right. And
Yeah.
I see it now. I've got a 5-year-old and a almost 2-year-old. And so there's about 3 years difference. And they don't quite play together yet. Like
Mhm.
my almost 2-year-old just isn't quite there where he can really play with another kid. And my 5-year-old is just like he is so outgoing and he is
Mhm.
so social. You know this. I mean,
Mhm.
he is just the most, I call him aggressively outgoing.
That's so
And
funny.
my 2-year-old, almost 2-year-old is kind of the same. So, like,
Mhm.
even last night, it's like they're both just like my 5-year-old is What about this? What about that? What about this? Can I have this? Can I have that? Can I have this? And the 2-year-old is like hanging on my leg. And I'm like, I just am trying to cut some potatoes. And I'm like, go play. And I was like, this is the stage where it was so much easier to have twins where they were
Yes.
at this level together because they never did that to me ever because they had each other. Did they want to play with me? Yeah, and we had time, but it wasn't like this desperation all
Mhm.
the time. So yes, you do
Mhm.
end up kind of getting your time back. That is definitely
Mhm.
an advantage.
That is so funny you remember the exact moment
Yeah.
because Kevin and I have that exact same story. We were s this is so funny. We were sitting on our couch near our
Mhm.
front door, and it was wintertime, and they moved all of the shoes one by one. They grabbed one shoe, and they would walk from the front door to our back door across the house, one shoe at a time, and they made piles of shoes back and forth, and we took video, same thing. We took video because we just sat there
Hilarious.
and we're like, "They're entertaining themselves.
Yeah.
They're not in crisis."
Yeah.
And even,
Yeah.
like, potty training, I think they kind of encouraged each other,
Yeah.
like, they figured it out
Yep.
because they had someone to bounce it off of. I don't know. There were just certain things, and you had your singleton first, I had my singleton after, but there are certain moments with my singleton now that I'm like, "Oh, I had it really good with my twins."
There are times I feel that way now. Well, now that my fourth son, who's the first singleton after my twins,
Mhm.
or my 4th child, my 3rd son, I'm like, "Oh, man, I wish that I could just make, like, the baby. I wish I could make
Yes.
him, like, the
Yes.
same you guys the same age," because there was just yeah, there's a lot of advantages at this stage, and, like,
Yeah.
beginning, I just remember I had the 2 little potties next to each other,
Yes.
and they would be sitting on them, both reading a book each or reading together, and I remember coming up the stairs once and saying, "Okay, you guys ready to get off potty? Potty time done?" And they were like, "We need privacy," and they, like, shut the door.
We need privacy together.
Yeah, that I
That
mean,
is so
like,
funny.
that is how they, like, think of each other.
I know.
So,
Yeah, and it is hard because when they're in the NICU, they feel so vulnerable.
yeah.
Right when you come home with them, they feel so vulnerable, and so to have 2 little beings that are dependent on you for everything,
Mhm.
it's obviously a time when you're gonna most likely feel overwhelmed and stressed,
Yes.
and if twins are your first, you're gonna not know what you're doing, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so,
That
just
is true.
if that's any of your listeners, I hope you can give
Mhm.
yourself so much grace, and, take it from a twin mom who has been there now, like, it does get better. It gets
Mhm.
easier,
Yeah.
and the gift of them having each other is so cool. And the gift of them having each other for my sake. Like, you had to send your oldest off to kindergarten alone. I haven't had to do that yet? Like, I've sent them both to kindergarten together, and so they kind of
Yeah.
have each other's back, and,
Yeah.
yeah, there's just this sweetness to it that
Totally.
now I'm really grateful for. When they were 1, younger than 1, I was kind of a mess, but
Yeah.
I'm very grateful for it now.
Okay, good. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad to hear that now. I
Yeah.
mean, I think I wish I had kind of heard that perspective when I was pregnant and during the first year, because most of the time people just would tell me it's going to be so hard. Even other twin moms, they would say,
Mhm.
it's so hard. I always thought it was funny because I'd be out in public and people always feel the need to comment on your family and your kids. And people would say to me, "Oh, just enjoy every moment." And I'd be like, "I'm like drowning here."
Mhm.
And then there were some people that say, "Don't worry, it gets better." And I did
Mhm.
realize I started asking people, "Do you have twins?" And it was the twin
Mhm.
moms that were telling me, "Don't worry, it gets better."
Mhm.
And it was the moms of singletons, and again, I have 3 singletons. It can be really, really hard. I'm not trying to, like,
Mhm.
discount that, but it's a different experience to have more than 1 at the same time that are the same age, same developmental
Mhm. Mhm.
neediness on you.
And it's hard not to for me, with not having that experience of a singleton yet, like, I remember early on being so frustrated that I, 1, didn't feel like many people understood me, which is why I
Yeah.
was so excited to see you and your husband and your
Yeah.
family walk through our church doors. I was like,
Yes.
twin parent. Oh my gosh, because it's like this
Yeah.
weird club we all have joined on accident. But I also feel like I couldn't use any parenting like cheat codes. Like you can't
Mhm.
tell the oldest one, be patient, you're a little older, you know how to be patient, or like there's no they have the exact same needs typically at the
Mhm.
exact same time. And so
Mhm.
that I remember feeling kind of resentful early on, like, "Oh, I
Yeah.
can't do any like of the my instinct doesn't fit in this situation."
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
have one more quick, sweet story for you. I was in
Yeah.
Trader Joe's when my twins were probably around 12 to 18 months. One of them was in the, cart chair, and one was in the big part of the cart. And this was just one of our harder shopping trips. They weren't like screaming, but they were not happy. And I kept having to like, don't grab that, or no, just wait, or we're almost done. It was just a lot. It was one of those trips that was like a lot of work. And I was probably sweating. This woman walks up to me and she says, I have twins too. It's going to be okay.
Oh,
And
man.
she hands me a gift card to Trader Joe's. Like she had gone through the line, bought her own groceries, bought me a gift card, come back and
My
found me
gosh.
and gave me. Isn't that the sweetest? I took
I
a picture
love
of it.
that.
It was such a kindness, you
Oh my
know?
gosh, I, like, almost feel like crying because 'cause I've seen those
Yeah.
moms before, and I'm like, oh, I just kind of look at them and I'm like, I usually give them a couple encouraging words, but oh my
Yeah, because
gosh, that is
you don't want them to think you're noticing them because you're judging
yeah.
them, you know?
It's always kind of a weird balance, but sometimes I'll be
Yeah.
like, "I have twins too." And then I hate when sometimes I say that and they're like, "Actually, they're only 9 months apart," or something like that. I'm like, "Not
And you're
actual
like, now
twins."
I'm that mom. Sorry. That's so funny.
Yeah, because I used to get asked all the time if I had triplets because my daughter is only 2 years older than my twins, and
She's so
she's
petite.
petite. Yeah,
Yes.
she was really petite, and my twins were pretty average or a little above average, and so
Mhm.
people would ask me that a lot, and I was like, "No, I can't take credit for being a triplet mom. Nope, that's a different level."
I know. And I'm sure I would love to talk to a triplet parent sometime.
Mhm.
I'm sure they have similar experiences, but I can't imagine. Like it doesn't feel fair to have more babies than you have limbs. Like to be outnumbered so drastically. I just can't believe that. They're the real
Yeah.
MVPs.
Truly, truly, I know. I have met some triplet families and they are amazing, truly amazing people. Okay, well, is there any other like tidbits or wisdom you would want to share with people and who you kind of talked about like what questions to ask before,
Mhm.
choosing like a birth center or a hospital
Mhm.
or anything that you wish you would have known kind of going into your birth experience,
Mm.
that you would
Yeah.
want to share with another mom of multiples?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah, I would say it's okay. This maybe is controversial. I would say it's
I love
okay to
it.
opt for a C-section.
Yeah.
Like, I just think there is so much pressure around having a natural birth or a vaginal birth, and
Hmm.
I wish that could have been a part of my
Hmm.
experience for, either my twins or my singleton, but there's a big difference between a cesarean that you know is coming and an
Hmm.
emergency cesarean. And
Yeah.
so, if you're on the fence, I would just do your research and know that it's
Hmm.
okay. It's okay
Yeah.
to choose cesarean for twins.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I would say is just accept help and accept help early and
Mm,
often. You're not going to be you don't need to prove yourself to anyone. Just accept help early and often. So,
I love that because I hear that from a lot of twin moms. If you have listened to
mhm,
my conversation with Rachel Pye Jones, we
mhm,
talked about the same thing, feeling like a lot of moms in America, modern day, feel like we have to do it all on our own. And the
mhm,
reality is, we just weren't designed to do it like that. So,
mhm,
thank you so
mhm.
much for sharing
Yeah.
that and
Thanks for
opening up
inviting me.
about your experience. I just really, really appreciate it so much. So glad to see you and have you on the podcast.
Happy to be here.
you so much for joining me today. I would really appreciate if you would like, share, subscribe, leave a review, leave a comment, and check out the description below for the free guide, The Top Twin Sleep Mistakes You Don't Even Know You're Making. And you can find all other blog posts, podcast episodes, and other freebies over at Twin Sleep. If you're interested in getting your twins sleeping tonight, head over to twinsleep.com and enroll in the Twin Sleep Academy, my video course that includes coaching and personalized support.